We are the Gujarat Technological University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU, the International Innovative University, your place to move forward.
Hello students, myself Pooja Vyas from Ahmedabad Institute of Technology. Today I am going to explain exception handling, Unit 6 in Java. So there are total 10 topics in Unit 6. So first of all, let us understand what is an exception. An exception is an unwanted or unexpected event which occurs during the execution of a program that disrupts the normal flow of the program's instructions. So, what is the difference between error and exception? Error indicates serious problem that a reasonable application should not try to catch. Error को हमें catch नहीं करना चाहिए. Exception indicates conditions that a reasonable application might try to catch. Exception हम catch कर सकते हैं so that we can ensure normal flow of the program's instructions. So now, what is the advantage of exception handling? Suppose there are 3 statements as you can see over here. Suppose exception occurs at statement 2. Then if we are not performing exception handling, the rest of the code will not be executed after statement 2. अगर statement 2 पे exception अगर होता है और हम exception को handle नहीं कर रहे, तो after statement 2, no any statements will be executed. और अगर हम exception handling use करते हैं, तो all the statements after statement 2 will be executed. So that's why we use exception handling. So there are 5 keywords used in exception handling, that is try. The try keyword is used to specify a block where we should place exception code. The try block must be followed by either catch or finally. It means we cannot use try block alone. Try block के अंदर हम ऐसा कोड रखेंगे जो कि vulnerable है, जो कि risky कोड है, जहाँ पे exception अगर होने के chances है. ऐसा कोड हम try block के अंदर रखेंगे. So if there is any try block present, then there must be either catch block or finally block for that try block. Catch block क्या करेगा? The catch block is used to handle the exception. It must be preceded by try block, which means we cannot use catch block alone. Catch block exception जो try block में occur हुआ है, उसको handle करता है. Finally, block is used to execute the important code of the program. It is executed whether an exception is handled or not. चाहे exception occur हुआ है तो handle हुआ है या नहीं हुआ है. Irrespective of that, finally block will always be executed. The throw keyword is used to throw an exception. Actual में जब exception throw होता है किसी method में, in that case, we use throw keyword. The throws keyword is used to declare exceptions. Throws keyword है, वो exception को declare करता है. It doesn't throw an exception. It specifies that there may occur an exception in the method. अगर कोई method exception throw करने के chances है अगर किसी method के, then we will use throws keyword. So we will see all these keywords in program. So first of all, we will see a program for arithmetic exception. बहुत common exception है arithmetic exception. In this, when we try to divide two numbers, if the second number is 0, if we want to divide any number by 0, then it is not possible and it will throw arithmetic exception. In this program, we have main class. In main class, we have main method. In main method, we have created a scanner object. So after creating a scanner object input, we will ask user to enter two integers. User will enter two integers over here. उसके बाद in try block हम यहाँ पे quotient method को कॉल कर रहे हैं, जिसमें यूजर ने जो दो नंबर्स एंटर किए हैं वो दो नंबर्स हम यहाँ पे पास करेंगे, नंबर 1 और नंबर 2 में. And we are checking if number 2 is 0, then throw arithmetic exception. So we have to write throw new arithmetic exception. यहाँ पे arithmetic exception का एक object हम throw कर रहे हैं, that will be catched in this matching catch block. Now, main important thing is return statement is not inside this if. If के अंदर सिर्फ यही एक statement है, because we are not return curly braces, then compiler will consider only this statement inside if. This statement is outside if. अगर number 2 0 नहीं है, then it will return division of two numbers. ठीक है? So suppose if दोनों numbers हैं, दोनों में से कोई भी 0 नहीं है, in that case it will return division of these two numbers over here in result, and result will be printed over here. But अगर second number 0 है, तो it will throw new arithmetic exception, and this exception will be catched in this catch block. तो यहाँ पे जो exception अगर हुआ, यहाँ पे हम उसको catch करेंगे और ये message print करेंगे. Exception in integer cannot be divided by 0, and the execution continues. So suppose I have entered a number 1 is 12 and number 2 is 0, then because second number is 0, exception will be occurred. Now let's see the second example of exception. It is for the library method. जो library methods हैं, these are inbuilt methods. तो inbuilt method से उसके लिए प्रोग्रामर को externally exception throw करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि library methods हैं वो internally exceptions throw करती हैं, जिसको as a programmer हमें catch करना होता है. So let us see input mismatch exception example. यहाँ पे library method हम use कर रहे हैं next int. Next int है, that is a library method, inbuilt method. अगर इस method में कोई exception आता है तो it will be thrown internally. उसका कोड जहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है इस method का, वहाँ से वो exception throw होगा, जिसको हमें as a programmer catch करना पड़ेगा. So let us see what is this input mismatch exception. In main class, I have created a main method. In main method, we are creating scanner object input to get input from the user. Continue input variable is there, which is initially set to true, and its type is boolean. It can be either true or false as any flag variable. यहाँ पे while loop हम use कर रहे हैं, जिसके अंदर if continue input is true, then let user to input any value, otherwise just exit from while loop. ठीक है? अब इस while loop के अंदर हम try block के अंदर ये कोड लिख रहे हैं. In that we are asking a user to give us an input to enter an integer number. यूजर के पास हम integer value as input ले रहे हैं, and that will be stored in number variable and it will be printed over here. अगर यूजर सही integer number enter करता है, then continue input will be false और हम इस loop से बाहर निकल जाएंगे. If user is not entering an integer value, then this library method throws an exception internally. तो यहाँ पे exception throw होगा और उसको catch करने के लिए हमें कोड लिखना है catch block का. In catch block, we are handling input mismatch exception because as a programmer, we know that this library method can throw input mismatch exception. So that should be catched by us in catch block. तो वो exception ex object में pass होगा और यहाँ पे हम एक message display करेंगे try again, incorrect input, an integer is required. और यहाँ पे input dot next line में we will ask user to again correct his mistake. So if user will enter an integer value, then it's fine. It will be printed and we will be exited from the while loop. Otherwise, again, it will generate an exception and again it will create this message. Fine. So this is the sample output. As a user, I have entered an alphabet, which is not expected. So it will throw this exception. Try again, incorrect input, an integer is required. Again, I'll enter an integer 3. Now it's fine. I have entered an integer value. It will display that integer value and it will be exited from the while loop. So let's move on the next topic, exception types. Exceptions are nothing but objects, and objects are defined using classes. The root class for exception is java.lang.throwable. Throwable है वो exception का root class है, and the super class of all the classes in Java is object class. So throwable is subclass of object class. Two subclasses of throwable class are exception and error. In exception, we have these much classes, and in error, we have these much classes. So in exception, there is class not found exception class, IO exception class, runtime exception class. In runtime exception class, these are the subclasses of it. Arithmetic exception, which we have already seen. Then null pointer exception, index out of bound exception, illegal argument exception. In error class, we have linkage error, virtual machine error, and many more classes. So let us see description of all these classes one by one. So subclasses of error class are linkage error class and virtual machine error class. Linkage error तब आएगा जब एक क्लास दूसरे क्लास पर डिपेंडेंट होगा और दूसरे क्लास के अंदर कोई कंपाइलेशन इश्यू होंगे, then it will create linkage error. Virtual machine error तब जनरेट होता है जब JVM में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है. एक्सेप्शन क्लास के सब क्लासेस है. क्लास नॉट फाउंड एक्सेप्शन, जब हम कोई क्लास को यूज करते हैं जो एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता, तब क्लास नॉट फाउंड एक्सेप्शन जनरेट होता है. IO exception. IO exception, it's related to input output operations. जब कोई फाइल मिल नहीं पाती, in case of file not found exception, in case of input output exceptions, IO exception will be generated. Now in runtime exception, we have these much subclasses of runtime exception. Arithmetic exception हमने already देख लिया. If we are attempting to divide a number by 0, it will create arithmetic exception. Null pointer exception का example हम आगे देखेंगे. Index out of bound, the name itself suggests that if I want to access an index which does not exist, means it is out of range of an array, then it will generate index out of bound exception. Illegal argument exception. A method is passed an argument that is illegal or inappropriate. अगर कोई argument हम compatible type की pass नहीं करते, in that case it is generating illegal argument exception. So the topic was exception types. So in exception class, we have these much classes. So there is a class called Runtime Exception. So this is unchecked exception. Means exception has two types mainly, checked exception and unchecked exception. Let's see that. So checked exception is nothing but checked exceptions are checked at compile time. That's why it is called checked exception. Unchecked exception are not checked at compile time, but they are checked at runtime. Error. Error is irrecoverable. So these are the examples of error. So in short, runtime exception, error and their subclasses are known as unchecked exception, क्योंकि ये exceptions compiler check नहीं कर पाता. All the other exceptions are known as checked exception because it can be checked by compiler. Now let's move to the next topic, which is illegal argument exception. अब तीसरा exception है, we have already seen arithmetic exception, input mismatch exception, and third one is illegal argument exception. What do you mean by illegal argument exception? These are the arguments. Okay, we have created 3 objects of circle class over here. यहाँ पे हम radius constructor के अंदर pass कर रहे हैं. So radius of any circle cannot be negative. वही check करने के लिए हम throw करेंगे illegal argument exception if user is giving negative radius in constructor of a circle class. Fine. So in first statement, this is fine because radius is positive. So whenever this line is executed, ये constructor है यहाँ पे call होगा circle with exception. New radius यहाँ पे 5 pass की है जो user ने यहाँ पे pass होगी new radius में. It will call set radius function. Set radius function will check if new radius is 0 or positive. Yes, it is. It is 5. So it is positive. Then it will set new radius to the radius variable. Otherwise, it will throw new illegal argument exception. So यहाँ पे radius positive है. So वो radius for particular circle C1, it will set that radius. Now when this will be executed, -5 is passed over here in new radius. It will call set radius function again. It is checking if it is 0 or positive, but it is -5. So it is not 0 or positive. इसलिए वो else part में जाके ये exception throw करेगा. Throw new illegal argument exception. And we are passing radius cannot be negative. ये जो exception यहाँ पे हमने throw किया है, that will be catched over here in catch block. So whatever message, whatever string we are passing will be passed to this object and this object will be printed. So in that case, this message is printed over here. As you can see in the output, radius cannot be negative. I hope all the 3 examples are clear. Let us try to run these examples with Eclipse. So first was arithmetic exception program. उसमें हमने देखा कि we want user to enter 2 numbers. In quotient function, we want to divide these 2 numbers. अगर दूसरा नंबर यूजर ने 0 एंटर किया है So we want to throw arithmetic exception. So let us try to run this. Suppose I'm entering two integers, 4 and 2. It will give me the division 2, because here I'm returning number 1 divided by number 2 and it is stored in result. Fine. Let us try to run this again. Now I'm entering two numbers. First is 4 and second is 0. So second number cannot be 0. So it will throw exception. An integer cannot be divided by 0. Let us see second example, which was input mismatch exception, which we already have seen. Here I want user to enter an integer number, but if user is not entering an integer number, input mismatch exception will be occurred and catched in this catch block. Okay, so now let's run this. Now if I'm entering an integer 3, the number entered is 3. So it will run successfully. यहाँ पे continue input false हो जाएगा और while loop से हम बाहर आ जाएंगे. Okay, let's try to run this again. Proceed. Now I'm entering a character A. So it will generate this exception and it will print this message. Try again. Incorrect input and integer is required. Again, from this line, input.next line, I want user to enter correct value, an integer value. If now I'm entering 4, the number entered is 4. So it will prompt it here, and now continue input will be false. Now it will not ask user to enter any value because user has entered a correct value. Thanks for watching.